Now that you have an action plan in place, what do you do as you move forward?
Well, you really want to step back and start looking at what's happening in the world that's an indicator that the scenarios are kind of unfolding, right? And early on in a scenario planning process, all of the scenarios are equally valid, right? And because you're at the center of the scenarios, you're at kind of the point zero, and the edges, in this case 2030, are the far side of the story. It's where we end up landing the narrative, right? So this is the statement of, in 2030 learning is going to look like X, right? There's a lot of stuff that happens today that is starting to point toward that future. So one of the first things you want to do is start looking at how and putting a process in place for how you develop a sense of what the future is going to actually be, right? So you start looking at magazine articles, postings on websites, legislative action, and all kinds of other activities that are going to give you an indication of this future versus that future is the one that is more likely, or the one that is starting to unfold for us, right? And that's going to, one of the things that I have done in the past, and I think it's a great visual aid for organizations that are doing scenario planning, is pick a wall, a great big corkboard or a wall that you don't really care about, and post these stuff. Create the scenario matrix on the wall, and take the articles as they kind of come out, and you can even put them in timeline format if you want to, and put them on the wall, actually showing people that all the futures are unfolding. Because again, we're not trying to make predictions when we do scenario planning. We're trying to give people mental flexibility, to force them into saying and recognizing that as they're taking actions and really trying to move forward with what the future is going to be, that those actions are still under the influence of things that they don't have control. And so as you start looking at building out this wall of evidence about how the future is unfolding, you can then have conversations with people as they go, well, I think we're going to create a course that looks like this, the future is going to be like this, and we're going to do that. And you go, well, let's come over here to the wall, and you say, oh, you just discounted 75%, right? That's a great plan if this is the future that's going to unfold, but you just discounted 75% of this other evidence for other things that are happening. How could you make your plan a little bit more flexible or resilient in light of these other changes that are happening? And then over the course of time, that wall starts becoming massive, right? It starts becoming more and more evidence of the future unfolding, and you'll start seeing perhaps vectors of this future looks more likely than another. And so you can start kind of moving your plans in that direction, but keeping in mind all of the time that there are elements in play that could force any one of those futures into play at any point in time. And that's why you can't just make the assumption that because it looks like this is the future that we're going to, that's going to be ultimately where we end up in a decade or two, because something could change economically, technologically, politically, that forces you into one of the other places, and you have to be aware and very conscious that could happen, and continue to watch it as it unfolds. And so, that is the real activity. The scenario planning is a point in time. Watching the future unfold is a discipline that goes on for as long as you want it to go on for.